You're probably living with business constraints that don't actually exist. What could I possibly mean? Welcome to Leadership Word by Word. I'm Sue Tinish, and in each episode, I take one word or phrase, pull it apart, and find out what it's really trying to teach us about leading better. First, I explore the background of the word or phrase. And today's phrase is think outside the box. You may already know where it comes from. It's derived from the dot puzzle. 9 dots, 3 rows of 3. Connect them with 4 straight lines without lifting your pen. Most people fail, not because they aren't smart, but because they unconsciously assume they have to stay inside an imaginary square that was never actually there. The solution requires drawing lines that extend beyond the implied boundary, a boundary nobody imposed, a boundary that only exists in the solver's minds. That's the origin. But here's what I think the phrase has been trying to teach leaders all along as it relates to business strategy. Strategy is a bet, not a goal, a bet. A goal says, we want to grow revenue by 20%. A strategy says, we believe this specific path gives us the best chance to get there. That distinction matters because most organizations confuse aspiration with strategy. When leaders say things like, we're expanding into a new market, we're investing in AI, we're targeting a younger customer, they are making bets about the future. They're betting that customer behavior will shift, that competitors will respond slowly, that their team can build what's needed, that the timing's right. Making the right bets requires thinking outside the box, questioning assumptions, just like in the game. Here's the challenge. In the 9 dot puzzle, the box is imaginary. In organizations, the box is real. It's built of assumptions about your customers, your competitors, your industry, your identity. Those assumptions were rational once. Some still are, but likely they haven't been examined in years. Everyone inside the organization has quietly stopped questioning them. They've become accepted truths while the world keeps changing around them. And here's the leadership challenge hiding inside that dilemma. You can't ask people to think outside a box you haven't described. Before you can escape a constraint, you have to name it. So let me give you 3 practices that replace the empty instruction with something actually useful. Tip 1, name the box before you try to leave it. Don't call a brainstorming meeting, call an assumption audit. Ask your team, what are we currently treating as fixed that could actually be changed? What have we stopped questioning about our customers, our model, our market? Write the assumptions down, make them visible, because you can't escape a boundary you've never named, and neither can your team. Tip 2, replace the instruction with questions. Think outside the box tells people what to do without giving them a way to do it. Questions do the work the phrase never could. Try these questions. If a well-funded startup entered our market tomorrow with none of our constraints, what would they do first? What are we doing only because everyone else in our industry does it? How would our fiercest competitor destroy us? Those questions reframe the problem space. That's what real strategic creativity looks like. Not a vague instruction to be more creative, but a specific question that makes the assumptions visible. Tip 3, protect the weird idea. This one may be the hardest and possibly the most important. In almost every creative strategic conversation, someone says something that makes the group shift in their seat. A proposal that feels too bold, too exposed, too different. And in most organizations, one of 2 things happens. The idea gets quietly worked down into something safe, or it disappears entirely. Strategic leaders interrupt that process. They say, let's stay with this idea a little longer. Here's what I've observed. The uncomfortable idea is almost always the interesting one. The one people resist is usually the one that's actually differentiated. The one that gets smoothed away is the one that might have mattered. When you grant permission to be wrong, when you signal that a bold, half-formed idea won't get someone laughed out of the room, you create the conditions where real, outside-the-box thinking can actually happen. Not as a phrase, as a practice. Before you go into your next meeting or next strategic planning conversation, I want to leave you with 2 questions. Question 1, what is the box your team is currently living in? And have you ever asked them to describe it out loud? Not the imaginary box of the 9-dot puzzle, the real one, built of real assumptions, real constraints, real things nobody has said aloud yet. Until you name it together, you can't leave it together. And you certainly can't build something genuinely outside it. And the last question for you to think about is for your own leadership. What's the most genuinely outside the box idea your team has ever surfaced? What made the environment safe enough to say it? How can you cultivate that environment? There's one more thing the 9-dot puzzle teaches that almost nobody mentions. Once you've seen the solution, once you know the boundary was imaginary, you can never unsee it. Real strategic insight works the same way. It doesn't just produce one bold idea. It permanently changes how you see the problem space. This is what Think Outside the Box was always reaching for. If this episode gave you something useful to take into your next strategic conversation, please like and subscribe. New episodes drop twice a month. One word, one phrase, real leadership depth. I share more on this topic in Substack and LinkedIn, and the links are in the comments. And the next time, we'll be pulling apart another phrase that leaders use every day without quite knowing what it's really asking of them. The phrase, strike while the iron is hot. See you then.